Alex, nice to have another catch-up. One or two things have been happening while you've had a few days break, and I think it's good news as well that fourth signing is done and dusted and completed. How pleased are you to get Charlie Colkett over the line?
Yeah, we're really pleased. Charlie fits the exact sort of profile that we wanted for that midfield role. You always have to have in every midfield combination a blend where players complement each other. And he's very different to what we've already got in the building, different to Connor Thomas, who we obviously brought in earlier on the window. And there's also that benefit that those two know each other as well. So alongside other midfielders who are going to compete for those places in the team, we feel that we've brought in two good players now, and those two positions that can obviously benefit us going forward.
How good a signing is it in terms of when you look at the experience he's got and where he's actually started his career and where he's come from and where he's been?
Yeah, well, he's got great pedigree, hasn't he? He's brought up a club that is renowned for producing young players at Chelsea. He's played for England right the way through the age groups until under 20, so I think that just shows what a promising young player he was in his younger days. Hasn't perhaps played the amount of games that he will like by the time he's turned the age he has, which is 25. That's happened for various reasons. He went abroad and had some experience at Vitesse Arnhem and also at Östersund, so he's played in Holland and Sweden. So he's not gone down the route and the pathway that most young players from this country do go down. But I think those experiences will have helped to shape what he is now. And our midfield's going to have to be a midfield that has control and is able to handle the football. That's always the way with us, and he can certainly do that. And he'll allow us to dictate the tempo in games a lot of the time. And he's got a good range of passing as well. And above all else, he was desperate to come here. He's a great lad as well. I've spent a lot of time speaking to him over the last couple of weeks. And away from the pitch, he is really clued up in terms of where he sees his future, and he thinks his future with us can have a positive effect on him going forward.
What do you think actually sold it in the end to get him here?
Playing games of football and belief, I think. Playing the games of football that we can promise him if he performs, and the belief that we showed in him as a management team. All players want to be desired and coveted, and we obviously made it quite clear to Charlie from the start that we saw him as a key part of our plans, and I think that helped him. I think that's something he's lacked at other clubs. Maybe that belief, I can't speak for him, but I know, having held conversations with him, that's the way one or two of his previous moves have gone, that he wasn't given that trust from managers for whatever reason, and I think he was sold on the fact that we were able to give that to him here alongside the many other things that we've got. He knows we're a developing club, and even at his age he's developing and has aspirations to play higher, and the facilities and the environment that we can provide. So a multitude of things really got it over the line for us.
If you look at the signings, just taking out Kelvin Miller, the three other boys that you've signed are around about 25, 26 years of age. Is that something that you looked at as well? Because you've just mentioned it there, they've still got opportunities. Hopefully with this football club they can go higher and higher. But if they hit the jackpot with the performances, their careers could go even again for them. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, it wasn't something especially we identified. It wasn't, I have to admit that. But I think as a consequence of the type of player that we were profiling, it did happen because we wanted players in that have got a certain number of games under the belt and an experience of playing, at least 150 plus 200 plus EFL games, and in Connor's case, many more than that. And as a result of that, they are at a certain age. You don't obviously get to those sort of numbers until you hit your mid-20s. So it's good that we've got good players in the building, which is the number one priority, players that can improve the team, not just the squad, and also the fact that they've got those various experiences across the different clubs that they've all played, Kelvin included, of course, as an added benefit, really.
It has been a busy time in a short space of time as well. Is it something that you look at and we're well pleased with what you've done, the business, still hopefully some more business to come, but is it also a little time to just step back, and who knows, it might just be wait a little bit and the bargains could come your way?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the way it'll go, Graham. We've got four players in that we did prioritise, and we're pleased with all four, as I say, not just because they're good players, but all four of them showed a clear indication right from the start that they wanted to be here, and that's huge for us because we've not always had that in the past. And also they have fantastic personalities and characters, which is going to help us to just build on the environment that we tried to create at the back end of last season and want to take into this season. I think it will level off over the next few weeks because all clubs are returning to pre-season training, and as a result of that, some players will be told by clubs that perhaps they're not part of the manager's plans, and they weren't told that at the end of last season because clubs look to see what movement there is there first before committing to squads. So I think there will be a levelling off in that sense, and we've got to look at that closely and utilise the market according to what we need to do for the remainder of the window.
Well, you're getting ready, in a few days' time to welcome them all back into your start of that pre-season training. How important is that to get all that right and enjoyable? I know it's hard work, but to get it right, enjoyable, and also a time to harness the new group of players you're going to be working with? Yeah,
I think both come hand in hand. You harness those new players and integrate them through what you do out on the training pitch. Of course, there's things that you can do away from the pitch to try and generate that team spirit and that bond, if you like. But ultimately, footballers generate that understanding and generate those relationships through what they do out on the grass. So everything that we do and plan and prepare for out on the grass will be dedicated towards not just making sure that we've got an organised and structured team, which is really important, of course, for us to have success this season, but also to generate and develop those partnerships and combinations across the team as well, so that we're ready to hit the ground running when that first game comes.
Over many previous seasons, some of the younger talented players have joined the first team group, and i.e. Conor O'Riordan and Zach Williams have pushed themselves even further to get into that first team setup. That can be an inspiration for some of your younger lads who are joining. Are you keen to keep that implemented, that if there's youngsters showing ability, they join in with senior players?
Yes, and what we've got this year is, alongside those two, the other 6 boys will also be training with the first team. And they did that last season a year ahead of the time. So they've already got that background experience of training with the pros week in, week out, and with that, developing the ability to become robust and strong enough to deal with the everyday stresses and strains of training at first team level. And there's going to be an expectation on those boys because we're not going to have a huge squad. We're going to have a squad that's going to rely on all the players within it contributing. Everybody's going to have to be accountable. There's going to be obviously situations throughout the season where senior players may have injuries or suspensions, and we're asking these players to step up into the limelight, if you like, and to be able to deal with the pressures that come with playing. And if they've been integrated into the environment successfully prior to them, which we will ensure is the case, then it makes that job for them that little bit easier when they do make the debuts or do get exposed to 3, 4, 5 games on the spin before they come back out.
Just going back to the recruitment side of it all, where you mentioned where you probably just take a little bit of time out now and look at what's around. But in terms of loan players as well, that's further down the line. But is that still a market that's open for you? And how do you sort of weigh up who could be coming out on loan at this time of the year? It's not that easy, is it? Or is it all about your contacts that you have? It's
not easy. It's really difficult. There's no point in stating otherwise. It's not. We've done 4 permanents. There won't be too many more permanents coming in because you have to manage things accordingly in terms of budget and squad depth and squad balance, squad composition, all of those things. So it was really important for us to do our permanents first, and that usually is the case in the summer window anyway, because a lot of the Premier League clubs where you do explore the loan market from don't want to commit to their players coming out until they've had 3, 4, 5 weeks of pre-season training. So if loans do get done, it's more than likely they're going to be done later on in the window. It's not ideal because we'd like as many of our squad, our finalised squad, if you like, in the building as early as possible, but it doesn't always play out like that because unfortunately when you're loaning players, other clubs are in the mix, whereas when you're bringing permanent players in, it's often because certainly at our level they're on free transfers and therefore there isn't an extra party that you have to deal with to make these deals happen.
Last week 5 substitutes were brought into the EFL. What are your thoughts on that? Does that suit Alexander, or is it again those with the bigger squads are going to reap more rewards? What do you feel? I
think it's so hard to say whether it benefits you or not, or whether it benefits those with bigger, deeper squads or not, because if you're making 5 substitutes, you could argue that you're having to make 5 because things aren't going so well on the pitch. Whereas if you're winning games, it's less likely that you're going to want to make substitutions because you're taking off starting players, and there's a reason why you put them on the pitch in the first place to start, because you've identified they're going to give you the best chance of winning games. So it's really hard to state whether the 5 substitute rule is going to benefit us or not. In some games it will, in some games it won't, and that'll go for the other 23 teams in the league as well. It's a week by week, pro versus con in terms of those 5 substitutes coming on the pitch and that.
Countdown's on to fixture day, won't be long. It's that time when the fans are getting excited, aren't they? Season tickets have gone well with the early birds as well. You're not far away from the big kick-off, but still a lot of work to do, and you must be relishing, getting closer to the kick-off.
Yeah, that's when you know you're getting closer, don't you? The first date that you look for is when you start pre-season, and then the next one is when the fixtures come out. I think they both fall within a day of each other. Those two things in this instance this year, the 23rd I think they come out, don't they, and all the fans will look forward to those certain fixtures. They look for the local games, the first game, the last game, the Boxing Day game, the New Year's Day game. So again, things are getting closer and everybody starts to get that little bit more excited when those fixtures roll in.